Throughout the history of bodybuilding, in every era, there have been absolute titans. Mass monsters so enormous that the stage trembled under their sheer weight of dry muscle mass. Their body fat percentage was so low that it looked like you could get cut just by brushing against their fibers. But what if we gathered all these legends at their absolute peak condition, put them side by side on the same stage, and judged them purely on size, proportions, and conditioning, stripping away politics, biased scoring, and favoritism? Who would stand as the true giants of the sport? Let's settle this once and for all. Here's the definitive top 5 bodybuilders in history. To understand Markus Rühl's genetic gift, you just need to look at when he started and why. Unlike many athletes driven by hardship, Rühl grew up in a happy, stable family. He got into bodybuilding relatively late, at 19 years old, out of pure curiosity rather than a calculated career move. Throughout his career, Markus was consistently underrated by the judges. The frustration of constant setbacks combined with injuries nearly drove him off the stage in 2001. It seemed like no matter how much he pushed, the results weren't worth the effort, but his natural ambition wouldn't let him quit. With the support of family and friends, he decided to fight on, and it paid off. In 2002, Markus finally clinched victory at the Night of Champions. According to fans, the moment he stepped on stage, it was obvious who the winner was. Markus himself wasn't so sure, confident in his condition but still bracing for disappointment. When Francisco Bautista was announced as the bronze medalist, it left only 2 contenders, Bob Cicherillo and Markus Rühl. When Bob's name was called for second place, Markus stood frozen in disbelief. For the first time, he felt like the judges had actually been fair. That legendary 2002 physique rightfully earns Markus Rühl a spot in the top 5 greatest bodybuilders of all time. Markus also became a cult figure when he started uploading his training footage online. Now, let's talk about a man whose journey into bodybuilding began not in a gym, but on the open sea. Mamdou Big Ramy Elsbier. They call him the fisherman for a reason. For most of his life, fishing wasn't just a job, it was his family's way of survival. Growing up in Egypt, seafood was a major part of his diet, and fishing provided a steady income for him and his 6 brothers. But in this trade, endurance and strength are everything. That's why, from an early age, the boys in his family were encouraged to take up sports. Like Markus, Ramy was born with incredible genetics, a fact evident from his early photos and training videos. Armed with his natural gift and an unlimited supply of high-quality seafood protein, he began his journey into bodybuilding. There were moments when he considered walking away from the sport, but everything changed in 2012 when he started competing in the New York Pro and other major contests. Over the next several years, he built a name for himself, ultimately claiming the title of Mr. Olympia in both 2020 and 2021. But let's be real, his actual peak wasn't during those Olympia wins. Objectively, his best years were between 2013 and 2018. That's when his conditioning and overall look were at their absolute best. Unfortunately, politics in bodybuilding robbed him of at least 3 or 4 more Olympia titles. If the judging had been fair, he wouldn't have just won 2. He could have claimed 5, 6, maybe even 7 Sandow trophies. His 2014 physique, in particular, stands as one of the greatest in the sport's history. Now, as time has caught up with him, Ramy's career is in decline. Years of pushing his body to the limit have taken their toll. Accumulated injuries, imbalances in symmetry, and a loss of neuromuscular control in certain muscle groups. Modern bodybuilding, in general, has fallen far behind the golden era. Today's athletes are a different breed, bloated with synthol, riddled with varicose veins, silicone implants, and lacking true separation and definition. The raw, granite-hard physiques of the past have become a rarity. Then there's Jay Cutler, a man forged by labor. From childhood, Jay was no stranger to backbreaking work, spending his early years helping his older brother on construction sites. That labor, combined with a solid diet, laid the foundation for his insane physique. Jay got serious about bodybuilding at 18, but by then, he already had experience lifting weights. In his first year of proper training, he was already benching 308 pounds. However, like most beginners, he made classic mistakes, training for hours every day, overloading on sets and exercises. Progress was slow at first, but with time, everything began to change. Just look at how massive, aesthetic, and well-proportioned he was in his prime. Jay wasn't a victim of biased judging. He was the rival of one of the greatest bodybuilders to ever live, Ronnie Coleman. Cutler's peak happened at the worst possible time, right when Coleman was collecting Olympia titles like they were spare change. Who knows how many Sandos Jay could have won if Ronnie hadn't been in the picture. In 2001, despite being lighter than his later years, Cutler nearly took the Olympia title from Coleman. Even Ronnie himself admitted how close it was. The judges' scorecards prove it. Cutler had two undeniable peaks, 2001 and 2009. Which was his absolute best? That's up for debate. Personally, I'd say 2001 because the competition was far tougher than in 2009. But regardless of the year, one thing is clear: Jay Cutler rightfully earned his place in the top 3 greatest bodybuilders in history. Today at 50, Jay is one of the rare legends who retired on his own terms. Healthy, happy, and financially set. He stays in great shape, runs successful businesses, and enjoys life with his family. As a child, Heath was passionate about sports. In 1998, he enrolled at the University of Denver and made the men's basketball team as a point guard. Despite his shorter stature, he proved to be a valuable player. After graduating, Phil turned to bodybuilding, and his career took off quickly. By 2008, he made his debut at the Mr. Olympia competition and placed 3rd, losing the silver medal to his mentor Jay Cutler. In 2011, Phil surpassed Cutler and became the new Mr. Olympia. He went on to win the title 7 times. However, over time, his physique began to decline. The issue wasn't his muscle mass, but rather his abdomen. Hernias, a protruding stomach, surgeries, these all forced him to step away from the sport. The peak of Phil's career came in 2012, which is considered one of the top 2 physiques in bodybuilding history. As for Ronnie Coleman, he was a unique phenomenon. Even in his youth, it was clear he had exceptional genetics. A gym owner noticed his potential and offered him a free membership in exchange for competing in a tournament. This marked the beginning of a journey that led him to win the Mr. Olympia title 8 times in a row. However, years of competition and injuries took their toll. Coleman underwent dozens of surgeries and fought to walk without pain. If you remove the subjective opinions of judges, his best physique was in 2003, which is widely regarded as the pinnacle of bodybuilding history.